You're All So Glorious, Chapter 2, Part 6. Content warnings. Child abuse. It's always going to be child abuse for Chapter 2. Um, Also, misgendering, a lot of it. And just entirely unrealistic expectations of perfection. Like, just the worst parenting. That's the content warning. The worst. One warm summer day, without an ounce of prior warning, Lace's mother returns. Lace is 10. Her mother shows up at the breakfast table and settles at the head like she belongs. A servant brings her out a napkin and a mug of coffee, freshly steaming, before laying a plate of assorted fruits in front of her and a small crystalline cup, a brown boiled egg upright within. Lace, who had mostly forgotten about the woman in the several years she'd been away, furrows her eyebrows in confusion. Phantom, who had eventually been convinced to join Lace at the breakfast table amid much pleading and begging, stiffens like a sharp piece of cardboard. It's clear they hadn't been expecting such a thing either. "It's interesting to see you here," Lace's mother says without looking up. "You've become more obedient in my time away." Immediately, Phantom gets up, knocking their chair over with a crash. They start for the door as quickly as they can and vanish through it in the next second. Lace has half stood, startled by Phantom's departure. Her mother remains unperturbed. "Sit down, Lace," she says in a calm voice. "Finish breakfast. Your sister's merely being dramatic." Slowly, Lace sits. She stares openly at the strange woman, finding her both familiar and foreign. "Mother?" she says, as if testing the word on her tongue. The woman flicks dark eyes at her daughter. "Do you not remember me?" Her voice is smooth, melodic. "I suppose it's been a few years. Pity. Widow had said, though, that you possess very little memory of your time before now. I suppose that memory is hardly precise. It bleeds." She cuts into her toast with a fork and knife. "I've heard you're behind," she says. Her mother's presence is an unquantifiable thing. It's oppressing, overwhelming. It's hard to explain, but the longer Lace sits at the breakfast table, the more she feels a weight dropping down on the back of her neck, increasing incrementally with each passing moment. She ducks her head. Just barely, she can recall her mother's old threats. "We'll send you back if you're not good enough." Her mother watches her like she's not. A knot twists in Lace's stomach. "Am I?" she whispers. "Widow says so," her mother says ambivalently. "I suppose we shall see. It's been a few years. You're far overdue to measure your worth." After breakfast, before Lace can go off to ballet, her mother stops her. "Go to ballet," she says. Her tone is dismissive, bitter like rotted tea. "I'm busy this morning, so I will not watch your progress there. Yet. Afterwards, meet me in the library. I'll check your progress then." Lace's stomach ices. She's scared. She doesn't know why. She had seen Phantom react, and now she's reacting too. Her memory slowly returns. She remembers the cold cruelty of her mother when she'd first arrived. The dismissal, the disregard, the evaluation of an imperfect product. Lace leaves the room just as quick as Phantom. She goes to her bedroom as quick as she can without truly running, gathering her homework from the night before with shaking hands. She glances it all over, but she has no idea what is right and what is wrong. Of course, she strives to the best of her abilities, but Widow has scolded her enough that Lace knows this isn't sufficient. She's distracted all throughout her ballet. Her ballet teacher notices and is unusually harsh. She forces Lace to hold tight position after tight position, balancing on her toe for impossible amounts of times, screaming at her, dismissing her. "You've been adhering to your diet, no?" she asks Lace in a hissing tone. When Lace gives the barest of nods, she laughs, harsh and grating. At least you can do one thing I ask. If you are this clumsy tomorrow in front of the madame, I will make you run laps until your legs fall off. Dismissed. Lace leaves, the horrible dread in her stomach growing wider. She goes to her room to gather her homework, and reluctantly, step by step, reluctantly, step by step, she slowly makes her way to the library. Her mother's already there, hands behind her back, staring out the large windows. Widow is nowhere to be seen. Lace carefully paces up, like a field mouse, trying not to attract the attention of prey. This is the woman with every ounce of power over her, the one who had shown her no regard, no favor. There's no reason for Lace to be this scared, but Phantom had looked terrified, and Lace bases her emotions off them almost entirely. They know much better than her about these things. They've been around longer. She stops just short of a meter away from her mother. Madame, she says, adopting a more formal tone. I am your mother, the woman says without turning around. Address me as such. Mother, Lace affirms, and then bows her head and says nothing else. The room is so silent. The walls are cold. They hold no secrets, but they watch, stern, like a line of angels sent by God, faces in permanent frowns. You've been hanging around with that girl, Mother says, voice cold as ice. It rings off the bookshelves, as thin as the sound of a flute, as grave as a storm. Lace scratches the paper, not daring to look up. She does not know of whom her mother speaks. She'll be a bad influence, Mother says, thumb scraping the side of her chin. She might corrupt your soul. Lace leans her body ever so slightly to the left, trying to see what her mother is looking at. On the green grass, Phantom lunges with their saber, again and again, the same set of moves like clockwork. Their pants flutter with the movement, the fabric unconstrained and free. Although I suppose there's not much to corrupt in the first place, Mother muses. Your soul has not become stronger in the time I have been gone. She stares out of the window a moment longer, eyes narrowed, before turning away. What have you been learning? Show me. Lace quickly scrabbles, snatching up her work and presenting it to her mother. Hands forward, Mother says. Head down. For now, you're offering your only value. She takes the papers from Lace, thumbing through the work she's ambivalently. Occasionally, she hums, tapping a long nail against a particular equation. How old are you? She asks when she is finished, placing the papers down on a table. 10, Madame, Lace says, not daring to raise her eyes. 11 in May. You're still behind, Mother sighs. She knits her fingers across her forehead. 3 years should have been ample time for you to reach the standard I've set out. But I suppose this is what I get for getting you children so late. You've already been indoctrinated into stupidity. Lace trembles, shoulders taut. Mother casts another glance outside the window before she turns, facing Lace. You seem weak to your sister, she observes. You and her. I'd recommend you avoid her. She's only using you. She raises an eyebrow in Lace's direction. Lace blinks, shuffling her feet rhythmically. Is she? She asks weakly, obediently. After a moment, her mother takes 2 steps forward. She's remarkably close to Lace. Lace can smell her, like pine. Of course, everyone has an angle, Mother says. Her, your sister, more than most. What is their angle? Life. Mother runs a finger across the wood of the barret. Your sister's running out of life. She'll play any angle to keep it, including buttering up to you. Why else would a girl of 18 years want to accompany a child like you? There must be an angle. She turns, looking down at Lace with an analytical gaze. I do expect better than for you to be fooled by someone as blatant as her, Lace's mother says. Her methods are primitive, execution even more so. You must always remember this, Lace. Everyone who appeals to you wants something from you. No action is innocent. Nothing comes from a place of genuine generosity. Understand this. You will spend years of your life surrounded by people who will tell you that to expect nothing in return for a gift is good and natural, will tell you that someone who is truly good. Your sister understands this concept, and she is entertaining your company in return for borrowed time. The question is if you're aware of this. Lace picks at her fingernail behind her back. I think Phantom likes me, she says softly while looking at the door. She said she liked me a lot. Of course she'd say that, Mother murmurs. Then you are being manipulated. Such a thing is quite unfetching from a daughter of mine. You must maintain your connection with others. See how it gleams, or rusty it has gotten. What are the benefits of remaining with such a person? What are the drawbacks? See how this consolidates your life quite neatly. If they do not serve purpose, there is no need to entertainment. Lace, look at me. You must gain equal return for your investment. Generous people will give up assets for things that do not or will not concern them. To thrive, you must think of relationships in terms of give and take. It may not always be a physical exchange of cash or what have you. But when you give someone your time or you donate money, think about your reputation, your life. These must be preserved and can be extended in a give and take scenario. In your stupid youth, you have allowed your sisters to take advantage of you without significant return. Lace stares blankly, fidgeting with her sleeve. Her mother's words make her anxious, almost afraid. Does she disprove their relationship? She certainly doesn't seem to like it, but Lace cannot get a true read on her. Would Lace be sent back for this? It's a bit of a dilemma Lace is faced with now. She'd rather not go back, but if the requisite to not return to the orphanage was to avoid Phantom, could she do it? Of course. Of course she would. Even if she were lonely, even if she were alone. This is your weakness, Mother says. Interacting with those who can serve you nothing. I suppose it's my fault. I've been gone for longer than normal, but your weak soul inspired no confidence in me. But since you have taken all 3 tests quite well, there's nothing to it but to allow you to continue. And it's not like we've found anyone else. You girls have always been somewhat of a rare breed. We were only lucky to find you 2 years after your sister's failure. She sighs, as if this is all some big burden on her shoulders. She turns her head, closing her eyes as if resting. But her lips are quirked up, and her eyes move under her eyelids like some separate creature. She is merely a beast, toying with her prey. I expect better, Mother says, voice quiet as a whispering wind. Improve, or be left behind. For a few days, Lace devotes herself religiously to her studies and routines. She does her homework, eats her dinner, and goes straight to bed. She frets and bites her nails, tearing each one off with methodical precision. Then, panicked over their destroyed state, she saws at them relentlessly with a nail file. This lasts about 3 days. For the first time, Phantom is the one who seeks out Lace. They knock softly on Lace's door, soft enough that Lace thinks for a moment she hadn't heard right. She only gets up to answer on the second knock, and can only stare dumbly at Phantom. It's them that appeared behind her door, a small brown packaging box in their hand. I don't want to make trouble for you, it's the first thing Phantom says. But when I was your age, I did the same thing with our brother. I wanted him to reach out. He didn't. But I thought I'd try. Lace stares up at Phantom, trying to figure out their angle like her mother had told her to. She can't find one. Did you love your brother? She eventually asks, voice small and quiet. She remembers her mother's words, stark, in the back of her mind. But she's only a little girl, and she's very lonely. And she doesn't like writing essays very much. and she doesn't understand give and return. She only knows that she likes to jabber on to Phantom about interesting flowers she'd seen and pet their ugly pigeon. Yes, Phantom says shortly. They put the box on the table. More than me? Well, I knew him longer than you, Phantom says. But don't you love me? But don't you love me? Lace folds her hands and tips back and forth on her shiny black shoes. Phantom looks back at Lace, eyes darker than before. The hair is starkly white at the roots, the dye they use fading away with time. They always look a little loose, a little droopy, like their bones cannot support their weight of their body, like a loose spool of thread. I brought you some stuff to make jewelry, they say, turning away and not answering the question. Paper clips and some beads, needle and thread. Lace watches their back with wide eyes. She considers her sibling. Can I make a pair of earrings, like you? She asks instead. I want to make a necklace too, with a big pendant that everyone can see. Make it as big as you want, Phantom says. Look, I brought some magazines and clear glue. We can make paper beads. I know how to make paper clips into triangles. Lace looks hard at Phantom, then at the supplies. She picks up a strip of magazine. Phantom shows her how to roll it up and spread a thin layer of glue over it so that it stays intact. Lace fidgets with the paper. She can't help but glance up at Phantom once in a while, unsure when a good time to speak would be. Eventually, after having made a bracelet and set of earrings, she decides that there's really no good time. What happened to our brother? She asks then, voice quiet and taut. Phantom's hands freeze on the paperclip they were bending. He's gone, they say distantly. How? Phantom looks up. In their eyes is what Lace had once thought to be anger, based on their voice and demeanor. Now, without all the posturing, she sees that it is grief, deep and true. I don't know, they say. One day he was here. The next, he wasn't. He was gone. And I was different. Whatever potential Mother had seen in me was gone. She left. And it was just me and the pigeon for 2 years. Until you came. And I wanted to hate you, my brother's replacement. It was hard, because you were so small. All my hate went over your head, and I could tell you didn't understand, and I didn't either. I don't know why I stopped wanting to hate you. Perhaps I just talked with you, but you truly had so little to do with anything. You just wanted to play with my pigeon and roll around in the grass. So I just couldn't anymore. Lace is silent. She stares down at her feet, fiddling with a bead in her hand. That's all I want to talk about, Phantom says. All right, Lace replies. She flicks the bead out of her hand. It bounces off against the wall, rolling behind her desk. Will this happen to you? Likely. All right. Phantom stares at her. They look tired. Lace presses her face between her knees, kneading her eyelids down flat, as if that would remove the thin sheen of tears that had taken residence in the corners of her eyes. Hesitant hands reach out and embrace her lightly. They pull Lace close, firm yet tentative, like they fear rejection. Lace does not move away. She holds herself perfectly still, as if the slightest shake or sniffle would give away what's obvious. I'm sorry, the Phantom says. They sound very much like they mean it. During lessons one day, a servant comes to the door of the library. Mother's in there alongside Widow this time, whose harsh voice drives Lace to perfection. What happens? The servant grasps. Please, come quick. Mother leisurely raises her hand. What is it? She asks, her voice like a finger tracing a pattern over bared skin. It's the other girl. She's torn out her heart. They don't talk about it. One day, Lace looks out the window and Phantom's out there, and they're just standing there, saber in their hands, but they're not doing anything with it. They're just standing there, a pigeon on one shoulder and the saber in the other. And they reach up towards their hut, and Lace bangs on the window, but she can't do anything. And then something white, stringy, large, emerges from Phantom's chest, and they eat it, bite by bite. And they don't collapse, but they walk towards Lace with their arms out, gaping hole in their chest, slowly peeling into bits of white string with every step. They say, "It's okay, I really want to die," in bitter tones, and "I'm sorry that you're not enough." Lace wakes up, sweating. She goes to Phantom's door. The door's been painted white once again. Phantom sits up when the door opens. They stare at Lace in the dark, their silhouette a mere shadow. They don't talk about it, but Lace clings to them so hard that she thinks they hear what she has to say. Their mother's presence put a damper on things. Although Phantom had reached out, they'd still remained scarce, which, as they'd explained to Lace, they'd done so that they wouldn't get Lace in trouble. "There's a lot of pressure," Phantom says. "Maybe you will be the one to succeed, whatever that takes, but I won't hamper you." They're more tired than ever. They're almost 19. They look as young as they'd always been, as young as they'd been at 17, 15, as short and strangely malnourished, eternally childish. But there's this look in their eyes. They're tired. Lace takes these words and everything else Phantom said and troubles over them, alone, in her room. She wonders how Phantom survived tearing their heart out, but she can't imagine them without it. But now her mother is in on all her lessons. And Lace doesn't dare take her normal 2-hour break, for fear her mother would see her gallivanting. Instead, she continues to appear in the library at 13 o'clock precisely, figuring she could claim she was studying if pressed. This proves to be the right option. Widow starts to show up too, and Lace suddenly realizes that Widow had known all along that Lace was taking an extended break, and had let Lace do it, likely to take her own break. For a fleeting second, relief is all Lace can feel before she remembers Phantom and the fact that everyone seems to have given up on them, and the fact that they weren't in school, and she privately begins to worry. Widow is sterner than usual, but in contrast, Lace is more perfect. She triple checks all her homework before turning it in, memorizing all her passages in a perfect French accent. She obediently takes notes and answers questions. She takes scoldings and punishments without flinching, digging deeper and deeper into herself to find a hollow she might live within. Her mother watches all of this with calm eyes. She has her own work, but when she glances up, Lace can feel her watching, judging, weighing Lace and finding her lacking. Lace hates that she fears to be with Phantom now especially more than ever. She hates what her life has become. If Purgatory were a real place, Lace can now understand why Phantom imagines it would be quite like this. But Lace has the advantage of the perceived failure of every person who had come before her. There's a certain amount of disinterest that keeps the heat off. She keeps her head together and answers all of Widow's questions with poise and presence. There's nothing that the woman can ever nitpick. Similar goes ballet. While her mother does not attend these lessons beside the first, and furthermore does not give a single reason for it, Lace extends and balances herself to perfect degrees, just in case. Meanwhile, the manor starts to become more of a hub. People move in and out, each one seeking an audience with Lace's mother. A few are fairly normal looking, 2 eyes and legs and arms, all very human. Others are odd, more uncanny, more strange. They do not blink when they look around the manor. Some move their arms in strange ways, stiff and unnaturally. Others forget to move their mouths when they speak. Lace sees them all from around corners when she hurries back to her room from lessons, traversing the manor like a little mouse, trying to evade the cat. They scare her, these people. What few have seen her have stared with strange, greedy eyes, as if they coveted something only she can provide. They are men with strange brass hats, almost like a musical note. There's a man shaped like an overly ripe watermelon, almost ovular, with dull, beady eyes deep set to his sun-withered skin. There are many women with white hair and narrow, dark eyes, just like her mother. Lace doesn't know what to make of any of it. Their characters are peculiar, unquantifiable. It's a bit like a circus, of each act paraded around the town one at a time, admired temporarily like an event at an aquarium, and then vanished. These are the people who frequent their manor. These are the people her mother does business with. The worst of these nights are the nights of the parties. They don't happen frequently, but when they do happen, they tend towards resplendent. New chandeliers, new white curtains made of silk. The floors are buffed. Lace is yelled at, if she even goes near them. Tables of drinks are laden on tablecloth tables. Catering moves in and out of the manor like clockwork. The entire manor tends to retreat like the ocean on these days, becoming emptier than ever before the inevitable tsunami of people. Often, the guests follow an unquestioning black and white dress code, very rarely varying color. Sometimes they wear masks, strange, jagged things with blackened eyes. Other times it's just their faces. There's not much different between the two. Lace never goes to these parties, never was invited. She doesn't really want to be, but she is curious. When all eyes are on the party, no eyes are on her and Phantom. They tend to huddle by one of the many doors that lead into the ballroom. It leads to a back hallway, dirty and meant for servants. The floor is covered by a white velvet drape, hiding the two of their gazes from the rest of the partygoers, who talk in high, haughty voices and glance surreptitiously at other guests. Often, later in the night, the two of them will sneak leftovers from the kitchen, delicious sweets and soft cheeses, but before that they whisper stupid jokes at each other and critique the guests' obscene dresses. There are many. Despite all the parties having colorless dress codes, the guests have found their own ways to stand out. This is to make their outfits as obnoxious and gaudy as possible. It makes them obvious, Lace supposes, when the rest of the ballroom is wearing the exact same thing as you. "Wow," Phantom whispers. "Look at that woman's dress." It's quite the event, her dress. It balloons out from her waist like some sort of proximity guard, preventing anyone from coming within 5 feet of her. She fans an ostrich feather fan at her face, hair piled in honeycomb style and similarly adorned with huge feathers miles above her head. "Wow," Lace repeats. "I wonder what's going on under there." "She's probably part horse," Phantom theorizes. "Their voice is sort of hoarse. Like a centaur. It's the only thing that will fit under there. There's no other reason to wear all that fabric. She has to be hiding something." "What do you think she's hiding?" The voice is low, deep, not either of them. Lace and Phantom startle, almost falling down in their scramble to move away from the door. They hadn't even heard someone else approach. The woman who spoke is long. Tall, perhaps, would be a more technical term, but this woman is rail thin and built like the stem of a flower, like the pole of a lamp. Her hair falls behind her in a shock of white, blending in with her white slip dress. Both her hair and dress flare out where they end. Her dark eyes look almost too wide for her face. A few light wrinkles surrounding them, almost in a demonstrative sense, controlled and deliberate, as if to give a presence of aging superiority. Phantom's shoulders are tense, one straight line running from ear to ear. "Hello," Lace says cautiously. She had not spoken to one of her mother's guests before. They terrified her, and this woman is one of the reasons why. Her gaze, like Lace's mother, is unflinching and uncaring, and she does not care one bit what happens to Lace. If Lace were to burst into flames and a bucket of fire lay at her feet, this sort of woman would consider the changes of she herself bursting into flames, as well as the benefit Lace's living would bring to her own life, before she even began to reach for a bucket. "Oh," the woman says, perfectly pleasant. "You must be the new experiment." Phantom presses her hand into Lace's stomach. It's drenched in sweat. "Out with the old, in with the new, I suppose," the woman says. Her eyes flicker between the girls callously. "A disposal party will be in order then soon. I do hope I receive an invitation. For all Maria's flaws, she can throw a decent party." Phantom blanches. Lace watches them swallow thickly. "But you are the oldest I've seen," the woman continues to Phantom, face vaguely mocking. "How old are you now? 17, 18? Far too old at this point, really. The oldest of your sisters was only ever 16. They were disposed as soon as they weren't of any use. Perhaps Maria has grown soft in her old age. Sentimental." The woman smacks the last word as if tasting a fine wine. She blinks once, long and slow, nostrils flaring with something almost like pleasure. Lace gathers her courage. "Who are you?" she asks in her most polite voice. "Ma'am?" Phantom's nails dig harshly into her skin. A smile creeps over the woman's face, like honey down a vine. It crawls like a spider, feeling the atmosphere around it with careful legs. "I've been rude," she says softly. "I'll give you my name if you give me yours." "I'm Lace." "Lace," the woman says. "Oh, what an awful name. I am Atla." "It's nice to meet you," Lace says studiously. Her heart pounds. Her stomach flip-flops. This woman's gaze is enough to cut deep. It, alongside Phantom's vice grip on her arm, is enough to stay her tongue about the casual insult to her name. Phantom interjects. "Madame," they say, voice bland as a drifting cloud. "It has been a pleasure to meet you, but we must go. We have to see our tutor quite soon." Quite soon. Adler turns her decisive gaze to Phantom, who stiffens straight under it, sweat beads under their chin. "Are you going to protect your sister?" Adler says softly. "As useless as you are, you can try. It's all you can do, but in the end, I think you know your fates." Phantom crumples a little. They don't say a word. "Now," Adler says, straightening her sleeves, "you are right when you say we must all depart. I must meet with your mother. A droll task, but necessary." She smiles again, a slithering thing. "It was good to meet the two of you," she says. "I'm sure we will meet again." Her smile never fading, the woman glides away, white hair billowing out behind her. She presents no urgency when she walks, each step a careful, calculated thing. Lace has never been more relieved for someone to disappear through a set of doors. As soon as the woman is gone, Lace is being tugged away by Phantom, quickly and rapidly heading in the opposite direction. They duck out of a side door, running across the grass. It's wet with precipitation, maybe dew. It smells quite green and fresh. And Lace recalls the lawnmower she'd seen running lines across the property earlier that day. The cut grass sticks to their ankles and the hem of their skirt. When at last Phantom stops, ducking behind a tasteful bush after the manor had become nothing but a twinkle in the distance, Lace asks, "Who was that?" "I don't know." "You seemed like you did." "I don't know her," Phantom corrects, "but I know her type." For a second, disgust flies over their face. "Her type. She's like Mother. They're related in some way. They want the same thing." "What do they want?" "Children," Phantom says. "New ones, more and more. Mother's had other daughters, you know. Not just our brother, not just us." They're half out of breath. They spill this quickly, as if they'd been holding it back a long time. They probably had. Lace furrows her eyes. "I didn't." She plucks a leaf from a branch and starts to peel it away from its veiny interior. If they're not here, where are they now? I still don't know, Phantom says lowly, as if testing the words, feeling them around in their mouth. Like our brother, I don't know, but I don't think we're meant to survive. Lace blinks, like minnows in water. Her eyes dart back and forth from Phantom to the leaf bits in her hands. Phantom has a keen look in their eyes when they peer at Lace. Mother's already looking for a new kid to adopt. Have you seen her tablet screen at dinner? Lace hasn't. She doesn't really look. Another sibling, she says, looking at the sky. Gross. Not another sibling, Phantom corrects. Not an additional sibling, but a substitute. Substitute? A replacement for something else. Once you get the new sibling, I won't be around anymore. They'll replace me. Lace frowns. I don't want you replaced, she says. She feels sick to her stomach, unclear and hazy, like she'd stayed up all night to watch the sunrise from the wrong horizon. I love you. Phantom pauses, and they rub the top of Lace's head roughly. What'll I do with you? They ask, but sound all nasally and thick about it. They're going to take your heart. Going to end up all mean like me. And then what? She's not going to take my heart, Lace says, face troubled. And I'm not very nice. You say all the time I'm mean and annoying. I hardly mean it, Phantom says. They roll their eyes. You're as mean as a mouse. I've got more emotional damage from the pigeon. Lace, annoyed, tackles them, launching herself at them with all the strength of her tiny body. She pulls their hair and then bites them right in the forearm. Her mouth comes away tasting like she'd just tried to bite fabric, like Phantom's skin had mopped up all the saliva on her tongue. Lace gags, moving away. Phantom jerks their arm. They stand abruptly, clutching the area where Lace had bitten. Don't do that, they order, eyes suddenly narrow and cruel. Don't touch me. I'll touch you when I want, Lace retorts, having already forgotten the strange feeling of Phantom's flesh in their mouth. You were being mean. I don't want you touching me. Phantom's face contorts in anger. You don't know what it's like to be touched. I'm not stupid. I've been touched before. No, Phantom interrupts. Just their face falls. Frustration reigns, and they scrub a hand down the bottom of their mouth. It's that look again. That loaded silence that sits like a glass poorly situated on a shelf. The slightest tremor will send it crashing on the floor. Lace is too young to understand. Phantom is too reluctant to explain. They stare at each other, eyes meeting across the space between them.